Okay, the question from the client is, client has 1.25 thick doors spaced 1/8 of an inch apart. Doors are about 2'4" by 7 foot tall and about 100 pounds. Okay, so here is a drawing of what the client, a sketch of what the client's put together for us. And the question is, will a typical concealed, European style concealed hinge like this grass version work? And that's a overlay surface mount, or what they call face frame hinge. So this is the 2284. Let's look at the literature on this. Sorry, 2284. So what we have, what they're showing to us here is on this 2284 style hinge, it is 1 7/16 overlay. Now overlay is defined as there's the jamb. That's the door. The overlay is the dimension from here to here. 1 7/16 is the overlay. Okay, so what happens is, because of where that vertical axis of pivoting, the door will end up being able to be in this sort of position when it goes open. And it's because that overlay dimension is not exceeded. And while there's not a really great drawing showing us here what it looks like, yeah, this is not a tremendous drawing that they're able to show us here. So let's skip over that. Let's look at the drawing that I've made. So here is basically the client's same sketch. I mean, basically. The issue is that you have some overlays that may work. This overlay here might work. This overlay here will not work. There is no overlay here. And this overlay here will not work. And the problem is because of the, what is in essence, I believe, a 3-inch overlay. So if we take this item and we rotate it, and I'm not sure of the exact offset of the pivot point, but if we were to take this item and rotate it, around about this center point here, the issue that we're going to have is the door won't open, because of the conflict that we're having right in here. Okay, so if we were to take this door and force it over here to observe our overlay, and we move that point of pivot, and again, I'm not exactly sure where that point of pivot is. Actually, it might be out here. Well, it's probably not there. Rotate, select object. You get the idea that because we're observing the overlay, at a certain point it's going to work. Okay, so this drawing's not really to scale, but it shows the concept of how that's, how that would otherwise work. So because of these overlays, there is no real way to go about verifying that, we know that it's not going to work the way that it's drawn. However, what you could do is use, for these applications, what you could do is use the Stanley wardrobe pivot. Actually, this might work out really well. Let's take a look at the catalog. The product catalog for their wardrobe pivots. 1.25 inches is what you have. So the 340 will likely work really well, because it may work. If you have, well, you can make it work. And what I mean is, the 340, first of all, is going to work for your door thickness. 1 1/8 to 1 3/8. The pivot at the top is attached to the top of the door and to the stop. So you'd have to have a stop created or applied. Sorry. You didn't want to see that. Bear with me. I'm moving stuff around. So you'll have a stop applied here. At the bottom, it'll be attached to your subfloor, or whatever blocking that you'll have down there. So the 340 will likely work. If you don't have a stop but you have a header, the 341 will likely work. And that's because, well, actually it won't work. Because the 341 will not work because you have to have a jamb to attach to. And clearly here you're not going to have that unless you were to build something here. It'll work in all other places. So it won't work for one of your doors. As we continue to scroll through, the 327 will not work, likely for the same reason. The 342 is the same as well. So my opinion is the 340 is going to be ideal. And the reason it's ideal is because that pivot point, you've got your door thickness. In your instance, it's going to be 1 1/4 inches. So they're not giving us a hard reference in terms of door thickness. Well, 1 3/8. So from the face of the 1 3/8 door to the center line is 3/8. Well, you're going to have 1 inch and 1 1/4 inches, so that dimension is going to become 1/2 inch. What I'm driving at is when you have your pivot point out here, okay, and I'm not doing this to scale. And in fact, yeah, the doors are not to scale at all. I don't have anything to scale here. But the point of the matter is, come out here and we get that to 1/2 inch. Okay, so, and then our pivot point from the edge of the door they're not giving us. It's going to be very close to the outside edge of the door. So it's going to be really close to over here. So let's select our object. Let's rotate. Let's get ourselves right at about here. Okay. And that positioning of that vertical axis of pivoting is far closer than what it would otherwise be. So now let's do this. This is on the far right side of your drawing, over here. Let's correct the placement of our block, our door, to where you kind of show it in your drawing. Let's rotate that based on that 1/2 inch pivot point out near about here. And you can see that you'll have no problem at all rotating that door. Okay? So in my opinion, what you need to have is the Stanley 340. I think that's going to be the right unit to have. The hardware is very concealed. You're not going to see much of it at all. In fact, you're going to see very little of it. Okay? Now, the reality is it's rated for 75 pounds. I don't know what your door is made of, so you might want to verify the 100 pound. To get to something that's heavier grade in terms of weight capacity, you're going to need to go to the 340, the 327. The issue, though, is you might need to modify these by cutting off the back side and then creating holes, countersunk holes top and bottom. Or some sort of modification. The fact that they're from 1 3/8 to 1 3/4, yeah, you're going to have, a greater dimension here. You can still put 1 1/4 inch door on there, but that 2 inch from the back side of your door to the vertical axis of pivoting remains, but this dimension from the face of the door will increase correspondingly. So you're not going to see the hardware. You might have to modify that, or you might have to verify your weight. These doors, I would be highly suspicious that they would be nearly 100 pounds, because they appear to be cabinet doors at the end of the day, and I would say that they're well within the 75-pound range. So there you go. Sorry about that again. That's Wrigley Field, by the way. Okay, so let's wrap up this video, and thank you very much.